Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our next Candid Talks with grads. Today, we're going to be talking about all things sleep related for graduate students. And today, our main speaker is going to be Tara Kuhn, and she's going to take over in a few minutes. Before we go through that, just as a heads up, my name is Ashley Ryan. I am the Student Wellness Coordinator at the Graduate Student Association. And hopefully you can take away some really useful tips and strategies and best practices for getting a good night's rest. So just a little bit of context about sleeping and being a grad student. So some issues that we face as grad students that might impact your sleeping patterns are things like maybe stress and anxiety, pressure to meet tight deadlines, a lack of routine, because I know sometimes with my life, it could be every day is kind of a little bit all over the place. So sometimes it could be a bit more of a challenge to make sure that I set aside everything and have it a bit more consistent. Some things that might also potentially impact it are financial limitations. So being limited access to healthy food choices, perhaps. So just a few things of why I think sleep is important, which I know Tara is going to go into a bunch as well. Some things are that it keeps up our immunity, it lowers our chances of chronic illness, it increases our productivity, and helps us maintain relationships with others. It improves our memory recall. It allows for safer roads. Obviously, if people are driving on the roadways and they haven't had good sleep, it can be a very dangerous situation. And of course, like I mentioned, a lot more. So overall, sleep is, of course, very important. And so some on-campus resources that might be helpful, some of these are not specific sleep, but have relation to other things that may be impacting your sleep, such as Counselling Services, which they also offer a Sleeping Well workshop, Empower Me, which is a mental health service hotline that you have access to through your GSA, your student fees, basically. Health Services and the Graduate Student Association, such as the Candid Talks with Grads events like you're watching right now, or other events, or if you're having conflict with someone that's impacting your life, you can also feel free to talk to us as well. Off-campus resources, and keeping in mind, I haven't checked out some of these myself. So, take all of these with a grain of salt, of course, but things like Participation, home sleep care, AccuSleep labs, and Peak Sleep labs, I put those in there just in case you think that there's something wrong, or you think something's up and you're not able to get good enough sleep and you want to see why that might be. Checking out a sleep lab might be an option. Some other mental health services that are off campus include things like Good to Talk or Here 24/7, or external counseling services such as KW Counselling Services, perhaps meditation videos, or maybe even sleep improvement apps such as Better Sleep, Relax and Sleep. So that's it for me. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to hand things off to Tara.
So thank you, Ashley. Just sharing my screen. Okay, so thank you for having me today, and I'm really excited to talk to you about sleep habits. Oops. So very quick, a little bit about me. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Kinesiology and Health Sciences. My doctoral research will look at the interaction between sleep and exercise in persons living with dementia. I did my undergraduate at the University of Victoria, where I studied biology and psychology. So I have a bit of a biopsych background. And then I did my master's at McMaster University, where I studied kinesiology. And that's when I first started doing sleep research. So, and very quickly, so a few years back, the University of Waterloo did a survey looking at students' health. And from that survey, we see that 65% of students feel tired, dragged out, or sleepy during the day 3+ times a week. So over half of the week, 2/3 of UW students are just exhausted. 29% feel that sleep is impacting their academic performance. And 22% report sleepiness during the daytime impacting their activities being a big or very big problem. So 1 in 5 students feel that sleep is impacting their ability to function daily. For some of you watching this might resonate with you, which is probably why you're here. So know you're not alone. And kind of as Ashley covered, sleep is very important for us, especially as grad students, as sleep is associated with our academic performance, our physical health, and our mental health. So that brings us to the talk today, is we're going to be talking about ways to improve your sleep habits. The list I'm about to present isn't exhaustive. There's other things you can do, which I will briefly touch on at the end. But for this presentation, I'm going to focus on sleep hygiene, which are the behavioral and environmental practices you can do to improve your sleep. So I'm going to discuss some of the good practices that you should start engaging in, and some of the bad practices that you should consider avoiding. So to start off with the good sleep hygiene practices, the first thing I'm going to talk about are things you can do during the day. And these are getting some exercise and going out and getting some sun. So for exercise has been shown to improve your sleep quality and your sleep depth, and make it easier for you to fall asleep. This is for most types of exercise. There is some debate in the literature whether if there's a certain window that you should exercise, particularly too close to bed. As there isn't a consensus, I would suggest, though, avoiding high intensity activities too close to bedtime. But overall, any kind of exercise you can do at any point in the day is likely beneficial for you. And you can be mindful if you do different activities of keeping track and seeing if you exercise too late of night, if it impacts your sleep or not. The second thing you should try and do during the day is get some sun. So sunlight is a very strong cue to your body, and it tells you that it is daytime, which is really important because you want this contrast between day and night, so that when it's night, your body's like, okay, it's night, and it's easier for it to close down. So a good way to combine this is go for a lunchtime walk, get some sunlight. Today, it's a beautiful day, so it's been perfect for it. But yeah, so get that exercise, get some sunlight, and it'll help make it easier for you to fall asleep that night. So the next kind of set of good tips that I have revolve around having a nighttime routine and things that you can do in the evening. So broadly for this nighttime routine, you should try to be consistent, and that is falling asleep at the same time each night and waking up at the same time each day, 7 days a week. Unfortunately, that includes weekends. And part of this is helps train your body. This is when you go to bed, and this is when you wake up. And I want to stress that waking up in the morning is particularly important, or being consistent when you wake up in the morning is particularly important, because that's one of the strongest reinforcements of when you should fall asleep the next night. So you should also try in this nightly routine, 30 to 60 minutes before, unwind and get ready for bed. This can be reading a book. Can be when you start brushing your teeth. But yeah, 30 to 60 minutes before, start whatever is your nightly routine to get your body prepared to go to sleep that night. As part of this routine, you should consider unplugging. So get off your phone, get off your laptop, get off your TV, any of these devices, you should get off. And this is important for two things. Biologically, screens emit blue light, which are picked up by your eyes and goes to your brain, and it tells your brain it's daytime. So if you're on your phone right until you go to bed, your brain doesn't know it's night. It still thinks it's daytime. But by unplugging about an hour before to bed, it lets your brain realize it's nighttime, and it starts preparing accordingly. And the second reason why you should unplug is that your phone, your emails, it's all stimulation that's going to get your brain going. So if you're furiously typing away at emails, if you're looking at Instagram, if you're writing your thesis, you're keeping your brain active and awake. So you're not going to be able to turn it off immediately and fall asleep. So again, by unplugging and not thinking about this, reading a book, doing a puzzle, relaxing in some capacity, this will help your brain wind down and make it a little bit easier to fall asleep. Other things you can consider doing is making sure that your bedroom is a sleep-friendly environment. So you want, I think of it as like a cool, dark cave. You want your room temperature to actually be quite cool, because your body temperature drops when you sleep, and you want to help facilitate that. You want to make sure it's dark, so you might need to invest in new curtains if you feel your room is bright, and you want to try and make it quiet. So you might have to get earplugs, close the window. But yeah, kind of evaluate your sleeping space and see if there's anything you can change that might make it a little bit better for you to sleep. And then finally, finding ways to relax can also help improve your sleep. Kind of linking back to unplugging, if you're stressed, if you're wound up, your brain's going to be racing, and it's going to make it very difficult for you to fall asleep or stay asleep. So finding ways for yourself, this could be yoga, mindfulness, reading the book, really just unplugging and kind of getting away from things, are all good activities you can do and help you relax and improve your sleep. So now I'm going to shift to some bad sleep hygiene practices. I just want to make a point that I'm not shaming anyone who engages in these activities, and I'm also not necessarily telling you to not do some of these activities. Is just be mindful of when you're doing them or how you're doing them, that they might impact your sleep. So for starters, smoking and caffeine consumption, especially right close to bedtime, would be bad sleep hygiene practices. And that's because these are both stimulants. So you don't want to consume a product that makes you awake right when you want to go to sleep. I can speak a little bit stronger to caffeine consumption. That I'm not saying avoid caffeine entirely. I'm saying be mindful when you have it. Try to avoid it late afternoon and the evenings. Myself personally, I can't have caffeine past 11 a.m. But for yourself, maybe just keep note, and at 2 or 3 o'clock, go for that little walk in the sun to give you that energy boost if you're feeling tired, and skip that cup of coffee. Other things you should try to avoid is eating too close to bedtime. So that midnight snack actually probably isn't helping you. And part of it could be because it's reminding your body thinks that you're about to do an activity or that you need energy to keep going, so it doesn't think it's time to sleep, or the processes of digesting kind of take away from your ability to sleep. So if you're starving and you need a snack, try to avoid something too rich, as that's one of the worst things you could have right before bed. Other things to avoid is alcohol consumption. Again, close in the evenings. So anecdotally, you might think that alcohol makes you fall asleep a lot quicker, which is true. However, in the long run, alcohol really disrupts your sleep quality. So you're falling asleep quicker, but the quality of sleep that you're getting is much worse. So it's not really worth it. So again, avoiding alcohol consumption in the evenings close to bed will help give you better sleep quality, and And the last major piece of advice of bad sleep hygiene that you should try to avoid is doing awake activities in bed. So this is playing on your phone, this is Netflix, this is writing and doing work in your bed. You want to try and do those all in a different space. And that's because you're telling your brain that your bed is a space of work and being awake. So when you eventually unplug and you try and go to bed, your brain doesn't think the bed is a place for sleeping, it's a place of working. So I know it's been difficult for some people in the pandemic, so I fully acknowledge that, and this is to the best of your ability. But if you do have the luxury of having a desk or a kitchen table you can work at, try to separate your work from your sleep as much as you can. So how can you find a sleep routine that works well for you? You can start using a sleep diary. So sleep diary, I will share a link. that hopefully you can access when you watch this video. And you can, the sleep diary will allow you to track your sleep over a period of time and help identify patterns. So it'll let you see when you're sleeping well or poorly. So you can keep track if you have caffeine at 4 p.m., if you slept poorly that night, but on the days you have it before noon, if your sleep is better, etc. So that'll help you track your sleep and hopefully identify things that are helping or hindering your ability to sleep. So thank you. And just before I finish, there's one thing I wanted to touch on is that these changes aren't going to happen instantaneously. They will take a little bit of time. Some changes might happen quicker, like if you cut out caffeine, that might be a bit quicker than some of the others. But overall, if you're engaging in these habits and you feel like you're doing everything you can to promote sleep, there might be something larger at play. There might be some underlying medical issue going on that it would be worth going to your doctor if you feel like you're not getting better. So thank you for listening to my talk.
Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate you taking the time to educate us on good versus bad sleep hygiene. I know for myself, I definitely have to work on, especially the unplugging at nighttime. I find it so difficult to just detach myself from wanting to be updated with things and just constantly being drawn to my phone. That's something I definitely have to work on. But yes.
I am bad. I am bad for it too. Yeah, but unplugging, I think unplugging in the bed activities, I think is probably the most relevant for us grad students.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, everyone who is watching this recording, thank you so much for watching it. Hopefully you've walked away with some really good tips and best practices and how to improve your sleep quality. And hopefully you can walk away and do that, and also check out our further Candid Talks.